Today, something shifted quietly, deeply, in a way the world wouldn't notice. There were no loud signs, no sudden disruptions, nothing obvious to point at. But beyond what you can see, something important moved into place. And this message reaching you right now is not random. It found you for a reason. There are rare moments in life when what lies ahead becomes visible before you ever arrive there. Moments when time seems to slow down just enough for truth to step forward. This is one of those moments. When your path was seen, there wasn't fear or confusion, there was silence. A kind of silence that only happens when something carries real weight, something too meaningful to rush past. Because your life is not small, even if it has felt that way lately. Even if you've questioned your direction, your worth, or whether everything you've been through has truly mattered. The truth is, it has mattered more than you realize. There was a version of your future that almost happened. A path where the pressure became too much, where the exhaustion didn't lift, and where you slowly began letting go of the things that once meant everything to you. It wouldn't have happened all at once. It would have been gradual. You would have smiled less, trusted less, and started convincing yourself that maybe this was just how life was going to be. But that version of your story didn't fully unfold, and that wasn't luck. There were things happening around you that you couldn't see. Doors closed, and you didn't understand why. People drifted away without explanation. Opportunities slipped through your hands just when they seemed within reach. It felt like loss. It felt like confusion. It felt like delay. But it wasn't. You were being protected from situations that looked right but would have drained you, from connections that felt familiar but didn't belong in your future, and from paths that seemed promising but were never meant for you to stay on. You were closer to the wrong direction than you realized, closer than you ever knew, and that's why everything felt so intense. That restlessness you've been feeling, that sense that something wasn't quite right, even when everything looked fine, that wasn't in your head. That was awareness. That was your inner self recognizing something before your mind could explain it. There were decisions being made around you, not always by you, by people, by circumstances, by things outside your control. And some of those decisions could have affected your life in ways that would have taken years to recover from. But something intervened. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly and decisively. Things shifted, paths changed, outcomes were redirected. Now you're standing somewhere different, even if it doesn't feel dramatic. Even if your life still looks the same on the surface, something inside has already changed. You made it past something you didn't fully see, and that's why this moment matters. You're not where you almost were. You're here, and here is different. You may still feel tired. You may still have questions. You may still be trying to understand why certain things happened the way they did. But what's ahead of you now is not the same path you were on before. You're stepping into a turning point. Things are going to start making sense, not all at once, but in moments. Small realizations, conversations that suddenly feel clear, situations where you finally understand why something had to end. You'll begin to notice patterns that were always there, but you couldn't fully connect before. And what's coming next won't feel like chaos, it will feel like clarity. It will feel like waking up after a long, heavy sleep, like breathing deeper, without realizing you had been holding your breath for so long. You'll notice that you're not chasing the same things anymore. You're not reacting the same way. You're not tolerating what once drained you. Not because you forced yourself to change, but because something inside you shifted naturally. Some people will notice, some won't. Some will drift further away, while others will come into your life and feel right, not perfect, but aligned. And you won't have to fight to keep them. That's how you'll know the difference. There's also something you've been carrying quietly, doubt. Not loud doubt. Not the kind that stops you completely, but the kind that whispers in the background, asking if you're really capable of more or if things will actually work out. That voice is losing its power. Because your life is about to show you things that logic alone could never convince you of. Not overnight, but steadily and clearly. You'll begin to see real movement, progress that feels natural, opportunities that don't feel forced, and a sense of peace that doesn't disappear the moment things get uncertain. And when that happens, don't second guess it. Don't shrink back into old. You're not being rushed. You're being positioned. Everything that felt like a delay was actually alignment. Everything that felt like rejection was actually direction. and everything that felt like silence was preparation. So if you've been feeling like something is changing, you're right. If you've been sensing that you're stepping into something new, you're not imagining it. And if part of you is still unsure, that's okay. You don't need to have everything soft-toned figured out right now. You just need to keep going. Because the version of your life that almost happened is no longer where you're headed. You're on a different path now. One that leads to clarity, stability, and something that finally feels right. And one day soon, you're going to look back at this moment and realize something important.